from R.T.O. Welcome to a brand new album review, and this one I have been looking forward to doing all week. We're talking about this little beauty, Marillion's An Hour Before It's Dark. As you know, if you've been watching this channel, Marillion are one of the most dearest bands to my heart. I always get excited when a new album comes out. I think since Fugazi, because I brought Script after it'd been out a little while and I heard it, and when Fugazi, I get excited, and I always get a little buzz when I know a new Marillion album comes out, and this is no exception. So, An Hour Before It's Dark is the 20th studio album by Marillion. It was released on the 4th of March, and I found out on the midweek album chart dated the 7th of March 2022 it entered at number 2. It's the highest chart position since Clutching at Straws in 1987, which is a fantastic feat. It's just so great to see this band still delivering the goods. They always deliver the goods. So on here we've got the usual suspects: Mr. Steve Hogarth on the vocals, Mr. Stephen Rothery on the guitars, Peter Truvavas on the bass, Mr. Mark Kelly on the keyboards, and Iain Mosley on the drum kit. But they had to, on this one they've got Choir Noir and vocals on couple of the songs, and this is produced by Michael Hunter, who has been working solidly, not just doing this album, but he does all the remixes of the older albums. Great producer, and he's brought some great sounds out on them older albums. So this is an album that's split. It's got 3 long tracks split up into segments. So let's go through these. So the first track is actually called Be Hard on Yourself. This one is split, I think, into 3. So the first bit is called The Tear of the Big Picture. This starts off with some lovely keyboard from Mark Kelly. That hook on the keyboard grabs you straight away. In comes Mr. Hogarth with that really great vocal, strong as ever. In comes Iain Mosley with that familiar great drum beat that he brings. Then now you got Mark Kelly coming in on the piano. It is just wonderful. Then we get Lust for Luxury. It's just continue on from the tear in the big the tear in the big picture. Getting tongue tied. Then we get some of them rather great little guitar touches from Mr. Rothery. Great stuff. Everyone else comes in. The piano work from Mark Kelly on this is superb. Again, Steve Hogarth is some of his greatest vocal on a Marillion album for a long time. Then we get You Can Learn. This is absolutely dominated by Steve Rothery's guitar work. The solo starts off slow and it just keeps building up. I love it when Marillion songs just keep building up. Extra layers come in, extra keyboards. It builds up and builds up. The band are in full flow, and then as it started, it just slides down into a little gentle finish. It's a really, really brilliant track. Absolutely brilliant. And then the second track is another track that's split into, how many ones this one? Again, this is split into 3. Reprogram the Gene. First bit is called Invincible. Again, we start off with some really nice, gentle piano work from Mark Kelly. And then in comes the band, Pete's bass, fantastic bass player, as we know. Really adds that texture to it. Again, Steve Rothery's guitar work, lots of textures, lots of little riffs. The solo on this bit is absolutely fantastic. Again, a very strong vocal from Steve Hogarth. It's just an absolute brilliant piece of music. Goes into the next piece called Trouble Free Life. This belongs to Mr. Mark Kelly. He's got lots of little keyboard pieces. As ever with Pete's bass line comes under here. You've got Ian Mosley's drum, you've got the engine room there, Pete and Ian. I mean, they've been playing music together since 1984 and they are so tight. It's just a lovely piece of work. Then the third part is called Cure for Us. Again, it just carries on from Trouble Free Life. Another blistering guitar solo here from Steve Rothery. This one just again gradually builds up. The band are in full flow. A great vocal from Steve. It just again ends on a little note from Steve Rothery, his guitar work. Fantastic way to end that little song. Then we get a little very short thing called Only a Kiss. It's a short piece with Peter and Mark just having a bit of a jam, very delicate, which goes straight into Murder Machines. This is one of the really uplifting tracks. It's got a lot of energy. The musicianship from these guys is superb. This track, there's lots of little bits that goes back to them early days, you know, little bits if you're, you know, from Clutching at Straws. And the solo on this is probably one of Steve's best, without a doubt. He's like a good bottle of wine, he gets better with age. He is a terrific guitar player, very underrated in my books. It's a great track, Murder Machines. In the playlist, there's quite a lot of that. There's one of the long ones and a couple of the short ones, but it'll give you a little taster before you go and listen to it if you haven't already heard it. Then we get The Crow and the Nightingale. I love that choral start from Choir Noir on this. You get a bit of piano and from Mark, and the guitar work from Steve Rothery. Just sounds so good. It flows like this great majestic river. This does. It's just some great progressive music. The guitar work from Steve Rothery is brilliant, and as ever, H's vocals just give it that depth, texture. I love listening to him sing. He gives it, wherever he sings, it always brings it to a level of sedation and wonderful. Absolutely brilliant track. Then we go into another one of these long tracks. This one has got 5 pieces to it. Sierra Leone. Chance in the Million is the first bit. This starts off again with Mark on the keyboards and just Steve singing. Then you get Ian and Pete come in. We've got this jazzy feel to this one, so rich. And then you get the sound of the delicate guitar touches from Steve Rothery. It just lays down the foundation for this track. Then we go into White Sand. This is short, but it's just Pete and Mark Kelly really just giving you some atmosphere. It sounds mystical, wonderful, which goes straight into the Diamond. Mark Kelly, Steve Hogarth, love it. Gentle keyboards, and then you've gets gentle, and then all of a sudden we get this great guitar solo from Steve Rothery, accompanied by some lovely delicate drums from Iain, so tight as they come. His timing is absolutely immaculate as ever. Then we get More Than a Treasure, the last piece of it, it's just more of the same. This track just again builds up into this crescendo, fades away, everyone stops playing, and you're just left with Mark Kelly and Steve Hogarth. Lovely end to the track, fantastic stuff. Then we get my favourite piece on the album, Care, lot to do with COVID, and I know this song while watching someone else's review, and it just really touched me. Basically someone lost their brother, twin brother, through COVID, and he was Steve Hogarth. I made contact with Steve Hogarth, and this is a little bit about this. And Steve Hogarth is such a nice guy, very caring sort of guy, and this sort of song was based on the talking to this guy. It's wonderful. Maintenance, Drugs, raw. This start reminds me of Marbles. That eerie keyboard from Mark Kelly, and then you get the lovely delicate voice of Steve Hogarth. This is, and then the bass comes in, and this is only going to get better when Steve Rothery's blistering guitar comes in. Then we get the piece that's actually called An Hour Before It's Dark, very atmospheric, reminds me a little bit of the piece on Brave, the Opium Den. It's quite enchanting, it's quite spaced out sort of thing. It's absolutely brilliant. Every cell comes next. Iain Mosley, Steve Rothery are great on this. That brilliant rhythm section of Peter Drabalis and Iain Mosley are just brilliant on this. They're still as good. Then we get probably the best guitar solo on this album. Steve Rothery is all over it. Some of the guitar work on this goes back to the Fish era of Marillion. Incubus comes to mind. It's just a brilliant guitar solo. It's a brilliant track. Then we get, it ends with The Angels on Earth. This one is one of them little quiet starts, builds up, builds up, builds up. It's just a brilliant vocal, the best vocal on this album from H. It's quite an epic, this track is. You get that little bit of choral in there. It really ends the song and the album on such a high. I've listened to this album, what, 6 or 7 times now, and I can honestly say I think this is the best album since Marbles. I'm not saying the other ones were bad. I mean, Fear was brilliant, but this is fantastic. They're still a force to be reckoned with, and I think this is the best album of the Hogarth era of Marillion. It's an absolute gem. I think if I was to do a re-ranking of the Marillion albums, this would be in the top 5 without a doubt. It's not as dark as Fear. There's a little bit more. This is more about optimism, hope. Obviously, it's very COVID based, but it's about hope. It's just a fantastic album. If you haven't heard it, go and check it out. Especially some of you that really not into the Hogarth years. Go and check it out. It is a fantastic. If you love listening to Steve Rothery's guitar work, you gotta listen to this, because it's some of his best work again for a long time. He's still got it, and the whole band have. I think that, you know, you've got that band. They've been playing together now since Fugazi. The musicians, they know how each other works. They play off each other beautifully, and so I can only give this 1 mark. 10 out of 10. It's just purely a brilliant album, and an album that I will still enjoy listening to in 6 months' time. It's just brilliant. Okay, that's the end of this week's shows. Been a really good week, especially last night on the live stream. But if you're watching this for the first time, if you want to come and join in, and if you like us, just hit that subscribe button and come and join the fun, and you'll be able to, when the shows go up, there's 2 a day except Wednesdays when we do the marathon. Check out the Redbubble site for your merchandise. So I will see you all on Monday, where we start off the week with some progressive rock from the fantastic Porcupine Tree, and next week's first classic album of the week is Graceland by Mr. Paul Simon. So I shall see you for that. Take care everyone, have a great weekend whatever you're doing. I think the weather's going to be nice. Spring is definitely here, we hope. Take care for now.